Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Chris Ensing. Meg Roberts is away this week. Thanks for joining us tonight. People living on this Windsor street full of potholes say they've been ignored. Why the city hasn't properly fixed the road in decades. Hundreds of people are on strike this hour, saying their employer is asking them to do more work without increasing pay. And we hear from Canada's housing minister, who says Windsor's housing plan is not ambitious enough to unlock federal money. A road in East Windsor hasn't been properly repaired by the city for decades, according to a lifelong resident, but the city says it doesn't have the money to repair it anytime soon. CBC's TJ Deer took a trip to Jarvis Avenue to see what the road's like.
This is Jarvis Avenue in East Riverside. It's filled with potholes and cracks all the way down it. A lifelong resident says the city of Windsor promised repairs in the 1990s, but he says that never ended up happening.
Based on the amount of taxes we spend, it just feels like we're being neglected, ignored.
Part of the problem is that pothole repairs are completed through a complaint-based system, meaning that only specific potholes will be repaired.
If we call 311, it's kind of like whack-a-mole to get the potholes filled. You pretty much got to give exact location. They don't really do any proactive searches for potholes.
It's not just the poor road quality. There's no road gutter or curb keeping water away from people's front lawns. So when it rains, the water pools on the road right on the edge of the lawns.
The whole street shoulder is filled with water, so you can't see what you're driving into. So two-way traffic becomes a safety issue. It's just pretty much impossible in the winter through any kind of moderate rainfall that we have on the street.
Jacobson has brought up the issue with his ward councillor, who says he empathizes with him.
You have to feel some sort of concern for the people who live on that road. I mean, they pay the same amount of sewer surcharge levies, same amount of taxes. They need to receive the same amount of treatment.
The city's acting commissioner of infrastructure services says he's aware that Jarvis Avenue's roadway is deficient and acknowledges that the road has needed an upgrade since the 90s.
That road is what is called a rural cross-section without curb and gutter and with deficient sewers and other services that are lacking. So in order to undertake that work, it will require a local improvement petition, typically initiated by the residents to upgrade the road. Windsorton
says that residents were informed of the requirement for a petition in the 90s, but one never came forward. He also says roughly 20% of all the city's roads are like Jarvis Avenue, but that to fix them, more money is needed from upper government.
The local roads requires a significant amount of funding, approximately $300 million. We're behind, and that will require senior level funding.
Windsorton says the city has allocated $16 million in this year's budget to fix residential roads. But even though a plan and an environmental assessment have been done in order to fix the road, funding for Jarvis Avenue was not included in the city's 5-year budget. But a motion passed on Monday during budget talks to allow the city to advocate for more money from Ottawa and Queen's Park to fix city roads. TJ Deer, CBC News, Windsor.
More than 300 workers at Jameson Laboratories in Windsor are on strike. They walked off the job just after midnight when contract talks with the company broke down. CBC's Dale Molnar went out to the picket lines today. He has more.
Pickets are up at the Jameson Laboratories manufacturing facility on Rhodes Drive and at a warehouse and logistics facility on Twin Oaks Drive. The 317 members of Unifor Local 195 are striking for better wages and benefits, including other issues. The union says talks broke off because the company isn't meeting the bargaining committee's expectations.
Everybody know cost of living and inflation hitting everybody at home, so wages and benefit is the main issues. There is many other issues still remaining on the table, but wage and benefit is the main thing.
There are several classifications of workers, but the main ones are on the manufacturing and packaging lines. The current wages range from $24 to $27.89 an hour for an operator to around $35 an hour for skilled trades.
What's the mood out here like?
Pretty angry. Angry at the company.
Why is that?
They're making money. Employees want to be able to make money and pay their bills. Everyone's having trouble to survive right now. They're always asking for more out of everyone. Everyone's trying their best, and they're constantly asking for more, but not willing to reimburse financially.
The union says the manufacturing facility in Windsor produces 90% of the health-related items and supplements for worldwide distribution. The strike has shut down production, but the union says some non-unionized workers may come in a few days to do some work. The union says the company should be able to meet their demands. The company CEO reported a revenue increase of 15% in the third quarter of last year compared to 2022. After reaching out to the company today, a spokesperson sent a statement that reads in part, "At Jameson, we value the contributions of our entire team, including our unionized team members. While we believe management presented a fair and competitive offer, we were unable to reach an agreement. We are committed to working with union representatives to reach an agreement as soon as possible."
For now, no new talks have been scheduled, but the union says they are ready to go back to the table anytime. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
Windsor Police has released video of a truck smashing into Tecumseh Mall last month. This all happened on January 23rd, just before 4 a.m. You can see a person exiting a red pickup truck. And then if you keep watching this video here, you can see the same truck. It actually backs into the doors of Tecumseh Mall. They called it a battering ram. Police, when they initially reported this, they say that the person stole a lot of items from a jewelry store inside the mall. The red truck later found in the 2600 block of Lozon Road. Anyone with information is asked to call Windsor Police or Crime Stoppers. Windsor Police are searching for a suspect and a vehicle after shots were fired at a business on Erie Street. It happened yesterday around 2 a.m. on the corner of Erie Street East and Marintet Avenue. Police arriving later that morning with reports of damage, seeing shattered windows and multiple shell casings on the ground. There were no reports of any injuries. Windsor Police say they're now looking for a newer model blacked out GMC Z71, a pickup truck. Investigators are asking people in the area to also check their surveillance cameras. And there's been a large increase in the number of collisions on city streets where people are leaving the scene. That's according to statistics shared at today's Windsor Police Services Board meeting. Take a look at the numbers here. 647 collisions where a person failed to stay after getting into a collision last year. That's a massive increase compared to the year before, when it happened 84 times, according to police.
It was a fairly sizable increase, and we're working with our partner ASSI. Public awareness is always part of our communications piece, and we're talking about safety of everybody, so make sure you're safe. When you get out of your car, make sure you're safe, the surroundings are safe, make sure anyone else involved, if you're okay, to see if they're okay, and then certainly call our non-emergency number if there's no injuries, if it's minor, but it's really about safety amongst the people involved and then the people on the road.
Today marks the first day of Black History Month. The University of Windsor, alongside the Black History, Black Futures Working Group, came together for a flag-raising ceremony on campus.
The fact that we're right here in Sandwich Town at the University of Windsor, which is historic Black community in Canada, it just really makes sense to celebrate the Pan-African flag raising ceremony and just celebrate the accomplishments and achievements of people right from this region, and just to make sure that people are aware of the Black history, the rich Black history is right here in our local community, right here on this campus even. The fact that when I started walking up to the podium, a crowd had already started, and I came here 10 minutes before noon, and just to know that people were poised and ready to hear the information just really warmed my heart, because it just speaks to the fact that people want to learn more and to be in solidarity and celebrate Black History Month.
And sing till earth and heaven ring with the
Being Black in Canada, a space for news, documentaries, arts, and more. Celebrating Black people and their stories. Find everything from interviews, insights, Black culture, and conversations. Visit cbc.ca/Being Black in Canada.
Windsor Regional Hospital is planning to lift its Code Grey next week. It will happen on Tuesday. That Code Grey was put in place after a ransomware attack in October, which took down clinical and non-clinical systems at 5 hospitals in southwestern Ontario. Windsor Regional says that it's waiting for 2 major clinical systems to be back up in the coming days before it rescinds this Code Grey. There is still an ongoing police investigation into the ransomware attack. The hospital CEO, David Mouget, spoke with reporters after a board meeting this evening.
Our major clinical systems are up, and pretty much over the last month, things have been running about the same, back to quote normal when it comes to our digital systems. What we have to deal with now with our regional partners and ourselves as well is getting our diagnostic imaging exams reduced.
Canada's housing minister says that Windsor has missed out on tens of millions of dollars because its housing plan wasn't ambitious enough. I spoke with Minister Sean Fraser today. He's denied the city's application to the Housing Accelerator Fund.
To the extent that Windsor wants to change its approach, we will have to wait for some future version of this fund, because the fund has a finite amount of money. Despite it being a $4 billion fund, the ambition that we've seen from cities has allowed us to identify contributions we're going to make that will exhaust that fund. I expect it will be fully allocated very soon. And in the future, should there be additional rounds through budgetary processes that we can open up, we're happy to re-engage. However, that funding does not exist at this particular point in time, and we would still insist that only the most ambitious cities receive federal funding when it comes to the different changes that they're willing to make.
Let's take a look at Windsor's rejected plan. This map here is a key part of it. Shows the city of Windsor. The sections highlighted, that's where the city would allow fourplexes. They play a central role in these applications. A fourplex is really any kind of housing that allows 4 units inside of it. Staff believe that this plan would lead to an additional 2,000 units in Windsor. That's beyond the 1,700 that they already anticipate to give permits to before 2026. Now, this plan was originally pitched back in August. That's when the federal government started reviewing applications, and they noticed a trend.
Certain cities seem willing to go to 4 units as of right. When we combined that practice that we observed for the applications that came in with the recommendations of Ontario's Housing Affordability Task Force, it made sense to go in that direction. One of the things that we've seen as well is when you look at the economic case that builders need to make when they're taking decisions about whether to say yes or no to a project, you tend in a lot of communities to see that the balance tips when you can actually get 4 units out of a building, because you'll have 4 families living there, can sell 4 homes or rent 4 units. And the difference between having 3 and 4 is often the difference between having a viable project or not.
Windsor's council, led by the city's mayor, says that this is not what Windsor wants, that it will stick with what the province allows, which is triplexes on any residential lot. The city believed that it would get $40 million if it hit the targets under the plan. Now that it's been rejected, the city will get nothing under the Housing Accelerator Fund. After the application was rejected, Mayor Drew Dilkens released a statement saying, in part, quote, "I refuse to compromise our neighborhoods and to do away with fair public consultation with our residents in exchange for uncertain funding." He says that people in Riverside and Forest Glade don't want this in their neighborhoods. I put that to the housing minister today.
If communities decide that's not what they want to do, that's something that they're entitled to, but it may mean that we're going to find a more ambitious neighboring city to provide federal funding to if we can incentivize them to build even more homes. Neighboring cities, I can tell you, either are looking at or have already committed to allowing 4-unit buildings as of right citywide. When we see a higher level of ambition on exclusionary zoning and other measures that were as ambitious or more ambitious, it makes it very difficult to make the case that we should nevertheless provide federal funding to a particular city if they're not meeting the same very high standard that their neighbors are choosing to meet.
News today that the old Silver City movie theater is getting new life. Landmark Cinema's movie theater will open this year inside the Walker Road space. That's according to developer Joe McHale. This latest development comes after the city agreed to not collect about $1.9 million in taxes over 10 years. That move last fall was meant to incentivize the revitalization of the space. McHale says that Landmark Cinemas is expected to occupy 8 of the 12 theaters as movie theater spaces. The remaining theater bays at the back of the building, they're going to be used as a medical center. The building had been vacant for more than 2 years after the Silver City closed during the pandemic. It had issues with vandalism in the past, with McHale estimating that millions of dollars in damage stemming from damaged wiring and HVAC system and roofing were damaged. There are about 4 million Canadians who have criminal records, and despite a nationwide labor shortage, a new report finds that many businesses are unwilling to hire people who've had a prior conviction, no matter how minor it was. CBC's Mike Crawley reports.
Comeback Snacks is a small Ontario company that ships its flavored popcorn across the country. Emily O'Brien is its founder and CEO. She came up with the idea for her business when she was in prison.
For smuggling narcotics into Canada. But I still believed myself, and I knew it wasn't the end.
O'Brien also knew that after getting out, finding a job could be a big challenge.
How can I make a comeback? How can I turn this around. And as I was talking with my other fellow inmates, I realized that we all had so much potential and we all just needed another chance.
O'Brien launched her business in 2020 and since then has hired 8 people who had criminal records, giving them part-time marketing jobs.
They have been the best. Like, they have been so reliable.
That approach makes her something of an exception in Canada. Researchers commissioned by the John Howard Society of Ontario interviewed HR managers across Canada. Nearly half said they absolutely will not hire someone with any criminal record.
They would discard that application, and it didn't matter whether the record was old, what type of offense it was, whether it was relevant to the position.
Policy analyst Sophia Hussein points to research from the US and other countries suggesting companies who refuse to hire workers with records may be missing out.
People with past criminal justice involvement have lower turnover, equal or better performance, equal or lower recruitment costs, and there is no difference in terms of risk of misconduct.
It's bringing calls for governments across Canada to take action.
Introduce a tax incentive for employers to hire people with criminal records. We think that this would go a long way to giving employers just that added boost to go and make that hire.
The human rights codes in British Columbia, Quebec, and Newfoundland and Labrador now prohibit workplace discrimination against people whose criminal records are unrelated to their job. The John Howard Society's report urges all provinces to do the same. Mike Crowley, CBC News, Vaughan, Ontario.
Take a live look outside there, the Gordie Howe Bridge, nearly connected. You can see a bit of that right there in the glow of what's going on across the United States. That is it for us right now. We will have a full look at the forecast when we come back. Welcome back to CBC Windsor News at 6. Victor Paulo with our weather.
Well, another gray day today in Windsor, but guess what? This is the final gray day before we get a stretch of warmer weather. Windsor, let me tell you all about it. Got a bit of light rain potentially in the forecast for overnight tonight, but it's going to be mainly cloudy, and that's going to translate to a cloudy start to our day on Friday. But after that cloudy start, it is going to be a sunny stretch, and I'm glad to tell you all about it. But before we do, your average high is minus 0.8 and your average low is 8.2. Taking a look at what we're expecting tonight in the Windsor area, 4 degrees feels like 0. And just like we discussed, the clouds are still here. But I promise, just wait. And I got some good news for you. Taking a look at that rainfall that's supposed to come overnight tonight. Well, the good news is it's really not that much at all. As you see, less than 1 millimeter. And once those clouds and that chance of precipitation clears, guess what's coming? And let's take a bit of a bird's eye view to show you exactly what's coming. And here's that big system right here. By the time it's your commute home on Friday, look at that just clear right up. Now, when it clears right up, as you do get closer towards your weekend, what that means is it's going to be more sunshine working its way in. And as that sunshine works its way in, well, guess what? That means we get to really experience all of that beautiful sunshine. But speaking of sunshines and speaking of beautiful, when your little ones and my little Emmy's getting ready for school tomorrow, it's going to be cloudy, 0 degrees, feels like -5. And here's the big reveal. First, let's take a look at our 3-day forecast. Where we see that sunshine, it's going to be a cloudy start. We're going to finish off with some sunshine. And then guess what's coming our way Saturday, Sunday? Well, more sunshine and warmer temperatures. And here's what's coming to start our week. More sunshine. Look at that. Look at all those sunshines in a row. We haven't had that in such a long time. Now, I'm excited to spend this weekend in a little bit of sun, similar to a cat indoors. I'll be right by that window, perched, getting all that nice sunlight, and you can follow me as that sun moves across the room. But until then, Windsor, have yourself a lovely evening, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Love Victor's finger point and roll on the way back there. Very nice, very nice. A news story you can use if you collect hockey cards or got a box in your basement. Coming up after the break. another one of those high-profile, high-bid auctions is underway online. We like to tell you about these, especially if you're a collector. The prize is not a piece of jewelry. It's not some titan of history's personal belongings. It's a box. Inside that box, hockey cards, but no ordinary box of hockey cards. CBC's Jason Warwick explains why this one's so special.
Hockey cards, a childhood obsession for many of us. Gems like Mike Bossy, Ray Bourque, Doug Gilmour, or Mark Messier. Or greats like Stan Mikita, Gordie Howe, or Terry Sawchuk discovered in your grandparents' basement. A few of us got lucky and contained a pack that opened the ultimate prize, a 1979 Wayne Gretzky O-Pee-Chee rookie card. Cards like this with rounded corners and other imperfections are likely worth only a few $100s. On the other hand, mint-condition Gretzky rookie cards can fetch more than $100,000. One recently sold for nearly $4 million. That's why the card collector community is buzzing about a Saskatchewan family's discovery. In their Regina home, they found a large box, and inside, more than a dozen other boxes, all completely sealed. Thousands of 1979 O-Pee-Chee cards.
To come across a find like this is super rare. Regardless of your location. And so, yeah, I was pretty excited to hear about it.
They've put the whole thing up for auction, and some estimate there could be more than 24 of those coveted Gretzky rookie cards inside.
Oh, it was incredible. I think the exact words I said and texted back to him was, "Oh my God." No one had ever seen one of these cases before. No one has even heard of one or pictured one before. So when I had seen it, I was floored.
Simon's had it carefully packaged and shipped to the U.S. In less than a week, the bidding has already topped $1.3 million. Haney says the boxes look brand new.
They look immaculate, like they look super white, so doesn't look like there's any humidity issues, and obviously no, yellowing from any sort of light.
The family is asking to remain anonymous. It's unclear what a buyer will do with the box. Keep it closed, open a few of the smaller boxes, or open them all and carefully extract any Gretzky cards. But one thing is clear, this rare discovery is unlike any other. And sports fans and collectors, they'll be watching. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Wow, from an incredible find to an incredible feat, a remarkable senior from BC making waves in competitive swimming. She's broken 3 world records recently, just shy of her 100th birthday. She didn't take up the sport until years after retirement. Arthi Thaiparan has more on what motivates her.
Betty Brussel never intended to take part in swimming competitions.
I was never that serious. I go for it, but if I don't win, it's okay too. But somehow or other, I did win quite often.
And at 99, Brussel is doing more than just winning. On January 20th at the Canadian Masters Championship in Victoria, she broke several world records in her age category. While she competes in various styles and distances, the 400-meter freestyle is her favorite. Brussel swims laps twice a week at a Surrey pool.
I just feel good about swimming. I just love to swim. I love the feeling of being in the water, gliding through the water. You have no weight in the pool.
While she's a bit shy of all the recent attention, Brussel hopes her achievements can encourage others to be active.
I really honestly don't feel special. Very often when I come in the pool on a meet, people come up to me and they say, "I thought I was too old to start," or "I think I'm going to quit, I'm getting old," and then look at me and they say, "Well, you can do it if you want to."
Arthi Thaiparan, CBC News, Vancouver.
Just incredible to see. That is it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor, and download the app, CBC News app. They have the stories that matter most to you. Turn the alerts on as well so you know what's happening when it happens. That's it for us. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.